Well, Lucas Frost is an honest man brought up in a crime family whose only legacy is violence, and that's the premise for Violent Ends, a thrilling film set in the Ozark Mountains. And we've got the director and producer of the film joining us today with all the details. Thanks, guys, for being
thanks
here.
for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. Now, John Michael, you directed it, but you also wrote the film, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about it and kind of what inspired the story?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas, North Little Rock. My mom would want the
Same.
distinction.
Awesome. Yes, me
Are you
too.
from North Little Rock?
I am.
Oh, okay, well, I grew up in Park Hill, just right up from North Little Rock High School. And, you know, I moved to LA after college. I've been there for almost now 20 years. And when I got to LA and I started writing, I knew that one of the cards I had to play up my sleeve, that I was from this very specific place. And so when I wrote the script, honestly, I was writing, most of the characters just sound like my mother. And everybody in LA was like, oh, wow, this sounds so specific. And I was like, well, it's just the way my mother talks. And it was kind of, you know, my card to play. And I wanted to tell a story about Arkansas because it's just oftentimes not a place that gets seen in cinema.
Right.
And if it does, a lot of times it's built on cliches. And so I wanted to make a movie that was set in my home state that people could watch and be proud of and see a nuanced portrayal of Southern, you know, Arkansans that they don't normally get to see on screen.
Yeah, I love that.
I think we appreciate that so much because you're right. It's
100%.
often built on a cliche or a caricature.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
Right. Undine, you have produced several projects. What drew you to this one? How did you get involved?
Me and John Michael have worked together now for 7 years, maybe?
7 years, yeah.
So I produced the first film that he directed, and that was like smaller and made during COVID at his house.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
wow.
entire film was set in my house.
Yeah.
Really?
So the scope of this one's quite
Yeah.
quite a lot larger.
His wife was not excited.
My wife was, yeah,
It was the last time we were probably
shooting a movie inside a house. Yes.
And then we we had like couple scripts we were like looking at, and John Michael had written Violent Ends before we made his
first
first
film,
movie.
okay.
Yeah. And we kind of were like, we like that one. Should we revisit? And we read it, and it seemed like it hasn't been it seemed like as current as it was back then, and we didn't feel like it was like aged out.
Sure.
So, and we had like a great time shooting it around
bet.
here in Arkansas.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you did shoot it up here in
Oh, yeah.
Northwest Arkansas. What was that like for you as a native Arkansan, and how did the landscape kind of shape that vibe of the film?
Yeah, well, for those who go see the film, one of the things I am most proud of is the way the landscapes are photographed. Elijah Guess, our cinematographer, did an amazing job of capturing rural Arkansas. I mean, it's just a place that's so in my DNA. I mean, I'm a kid of the '80s. I grew up here mostly in the woods, running around, telling her I would spend my days following creeks and see where they go.
Sure.
And just, you explore. And
Yeah.
that feels like something that doesn't really exist as much these days.
Right.
But it was very important to me to capture, a very specific portrait of Arkansas. Our movie's harkening back to kind of old westerns in a way. So you get those big landscapes. So, for you Arkansans who go out to watch the movie, you're going to see a lot of rural locations that you probably maybe don't recognize at face value, but feel part of your DNA.
Yeah.
It's just, it's such a beautiful state to photograph. Like, literally, you can point the camera anywhere and get amazing production value. We had such a fun time shooting in Northwest Arkansas. It was amazing.
And as Arkansans, I mean, that makes us proud. It's
Yeah.
encouraging to hear that, and so maybe you'll encourage other filmmakers to come to this
I
great
hope
state
so.
and do some more.
Even when we were coming back to Fayetteville, quite frankly, most of the cast in this movie are either from New York or LA, or they hadn't spent much time in Fayetteville. And when they booked the show, and I told them we were going to be shooting in Northwest Arkansas, you could feel a little trepidation because they didn't know.
Right.
They loved it.
Good.
And even when we were coming back yesterday, Undine was like, "Oh, there's a weight lifted off us being back here. We love it so
Awesome.
much."
Yeah.
That's great to
That's
hear.
awesome to
Yes.
hear.
Yeah, and you've got that private cast and crew screening today, but the nationwide release happening on Halloween. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. It'll be in theaters all over the country. I think it's playing here at the
Malco,
the
yes.
Razorback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for
Thank
joining
you guys
us.
so
Thank you for
much.
having us.
And
And
enjoy the
congratulations.
screening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
For sure.
Stay with